you have been closely watching the U.S. markets as well, given the Trump tariffs. What do you make of it all?
By now, Trump is no surprise. I mean, his actions, yes, it shakes and rattles everything, politically, economically. But by now, he's no surprise. But I think, they say that sometimes behind the madness, there is some, maybe not sense, but some rational. And I think I think he knows his constituents. Also, sometimes it's hard to change government. Once a country is set on a track, whether political or mostly economic track, it's difficult to change it. You have to do it gradually over time. And there's a lot of political back and forth and discussion, Congress, etc., that it must go through, and sometimes through the court system. And I think Trump is just using as much executive order as he can, as rash as he's able to do. So ultimately, once some of these changes are filtered into the system, it's difficult to make a 100% or 180-degree turnaround. Some residual effect. Law, something becomes law, something remains, and then he would have initiated a particular change in our track, the country to be on a track. And ultimately what he wants, he says, is to make the American economy stronger, to bring back jobs, as well as to better reduce the budget, the fiscal side of the US economy. So that's his intention. It's extreme, it's radical, it's difficult to support that. It's going to be significant short-term shock to the economy, the global economy, not just the domestic, or those economy that feeds directly off it, like small Caribbean and Latin American economies, but the global economy. That's the way he operates. It's interesting though, can the American people, tolerate it? That is a big question.
Yeah, and for how long is the other question as well. So earlier we had Saint on who was saying that the intention is for the shock to be short term and eventually things will level off. But have you observed anything about the Jamaican markets, like Jamaican investors' appetite since these announcements were made?
I have not seen, it's very short time as yet, as the Prime Minister stated earlier. Trump, wide swipe, if that's the term, these tariffs upon 100 and something plus countries that they trade with, including very small economies, including economies that they have a favorable balance of payment trade surplus with including Jamaica. However, we're part of another agreement, the CBI, particularly the Caribbean Basin Initiative. So we really have to see if that will be subsumed under the executive orders or there are exceptions. So there's more to come, really. The finer parts need to be ironed out. And it is up to our foreign ministry, the trade and industry minister and ministry to really push for that clarity with the US counterparts, right? How successful, we're not sure. But I have not seen any significant adjust from what I'm seeing in my near surroundings, but I'd expect, though, sensibly that we'll begin to make plans. I saw or read on the news just recently where the Prime Minister was asking our productive sectors to seek alternative market and make adjustment that they believe is beneficial to their company, their industry, and the broader economy. And we have to think out of the box now. I think I've always said it in this room, in this office, at this space, that we have built a dependency on the United States of America, and they are a good trading partner. Many Jamaicans or diaspora there, Caribbean, Jamaican, etc. Yes, remittance comes back from there, but we have shifted from England and shifted to the US and built a dependency that has not really worked out very well for us over the last 20, 30, 40 or so years. But this is shock therapy, and hopefully it will push us. What the US is doing, as Trump has said, is the short-term sickness that they must bear for the long-term health of the American economy. We now must think the same way. I think we don't
want... The bitter medicine. This is Trump's version of bitter medicine.
Exactly. And we don't want the bitter medicine, but we have to think in that terms. We have to. So we really have to begin to diversify economy, diversify our trade, diversify everything that we do in order to at least become long-term sustainable and not so heavily dependent on a particular economy.
Why did you say earlier, Clive, that this dependency on the US for our exports has not worked in our favor?
Easily, we see, let's look at tourism. They can have a, what is that announcement called about violence in any country, whether it is so or not. Travel advisory.
Yes.
That has impacted our tourism sector, right? In his first term, he spoke heavily about cutting, eliminating, or taxing remittances. That can impact our inflow of FX, which largely we get more FX, hard currency, from remittance than we do from tourism. Good. We can look at even trade deals and agreement that we sign. Many times within a few years or so, technology changes, taste changes, especially in a large dynamic economy like the US that competes all across the globe, where people have alternative choice. Quickly or easily we sign a trade deal, we're no longer relevant in 4 or 5 years. You see? So we have to think in terms of this when we're structuring deals with these larger metropole. We should, really. We're a small economy, yes. And maybe we really need to look at building our domestic consumption, improve the quality of life in Jamaica, pay better so people can consume better. And one step we have made over the last several years, which is good. I think we have built up a really good capital market. We have one of the better structured capital market when compared to the whole Caribbean and Latin America. We're far more developed in terms of our regulatory practice, the institutions, the product base, the diversity among the different financial institutions when compared to many Latin American countries. So we have done well in that sphere, you see. And I see another move now where the government, rather than sell state-owned entities to private sectors or private entities, they are now putting these to the market where there's a lot of liquidity. We can see from these offers in the market recent, the heavy oversubscription we've seen. There's capital in this, and people are looking for places to put their money. So I think that's a good idea. So we have begun, yes, at least in the financial sphere. So we need to move to the more productive, the trading, the manufacturing, etc. And look inward towards the Caribbean and Latin America. We need to do that.
Well, I was just about to ask, because if not the United States, if we need to reduce our dependency on the United States, who do we turn to? Because they're the superpower, they're the regional power, they have the buying potential, the disposable income. If not them, then who?
They do, yes. I mean, they have the technology, they're the innovators. The lifestyle we enjoy here, yes, is heavily dependent on them. That's where we get ideas from, creativity, etc. Yes, we are creative, but we get something from there and we can trade there. But over the long term, over the short, medium to long term, the imbalance is significant. We are always on our pins and needle when there's a change in government. Trump has really shown us, the Caribbean and the world, that maybe we're going to have this type of leadership changes in the US, where one that is calm, accommodating, willing to negotiate, and one that is quite drastic. This might be the beginning. The American electorate is showing us now, ever since the election of Obama, that there's something else to them, and they will vote in the extreme if they believe it needs be. But all in all, though, the US is a partner, and a good partner, has been a supporting partner. But we simply need to diversify. Like any business entity, like anyone who's earning income, like we advise in portfolio management and structuring, you need to diversify. I'm looking at the docket this in today's newspaper. Let's see if my camera can catch this. Look at, not today, sorry, Friday, Financial Gleaner, April 4. It's published in the Observer too. Look at the trade balances. 64% of our import comes from the United States, and over 51% of our export goes to the United States. We're heavily dependent on them, and we just need to diversify, really. Maybe that could help our dollar. Maybe this dependence on one currency also is one of the reasons why the dollar is consistently depreciating against its major trading partner. You see? And our lives, does it get any easier? No. Over the years, yes, we have far more availability of product. We can expand tourism, but where's the expansion coming from? We're too dependent on one particular economy.
Sean has a question for you. Sean wants to know, do you think this scare could cause investors to move their money from the US stock market to other markets? And if so, do you think Jamaica's stock market could catch some attention?
To be honest with you, over the years, we have seen the Jamaican stock market cannot compare to the US at all in any way, fashion, or form. To be honest with you, yes. For us, it's a beginning for us. We need to develop that capital market. Do we have the size? No. Do we have the depth? No. Which is the liquidity? No, we don't. Do we have the stable currency? No. One of the significant mitigating, I've spoken here. You know, we have dealt with the diaspora who wants to invest in our market, and several of them have converted and bought securities here. And over the years, just through the valuation alone, our market is more fickle than the US, in the sense that we can go into long, deep trough and takes 2 to 3 years to come out. We have not experienced that for the last, since about 2014, which is good, because fiscal conditions and the monetary control is well established now. So we have not experienced that. But previously, we'd go into this 3 to 4 year trough, right? And during that time, the dollar is devaluing and they have lost. So I clearly remember particular investors who hurriedly sold their securities that they had here, converted back to US and went back to the US market. But and the US is interconnected also. So I don't think that ours can compare and generate the type of return, medium or long-term return that the US can. But we begin somewhere. We must structure ours somewhere, and we need to build the resilience in our economy. The US also, importantly, no matter what happens in the US, it really is the what should I say, the economy of last resort. You know, that is where the flight to safety, you know. So no matter what is happening in the US right now, the short-term you know, what should I say? It is causing a lot of chaos in the short term, but ultimately you'll find that global capital filters right back to the US because one, it has resilience. It can bounce back. They are very creative. They're innovators. You know, they're interconnected more globally with other economies than us. They can negotiate with larger economies. We don't have that space at all. So really and truly, the US economy is still strong, resilient, more so than nearly all of the economies on the globe.
I don't know, Clive, it's looking like China. In the past 15 years, the advances that China has made in their economy, in technology, in AI, you see what DeepSeek came out and mash up ChatGPT and their valuation. We see BYD becoming a major player in the electric car space. Just so many innovations and developments. And we're learning now that it has been the result of a deliberate policy set 15 years ago.
A deliberate policy set from the revolution, 1959 revolution. It's about discipline. It's about suffering. It's not about this generation. It's about the future generation. If we put our mind set in the same direction, we can achieve it too. I think Jamaica, corruption, we will sell out our family to get $1 to put in our pocket today. You see? And until we change the mindset, we won't be anywhere near where China is. But it's a deliberate action. Yes, not just in the last 15 years. They are creative. Look forward to China in the next 20, 30 years. Look forward to BRICS in the next, I say 15 to 20 years. And I say 15, giving a little extended time, because the world, I think, realizes that we have built upon the institutions of Western Europe, whether it's the trading system, the financial system, the regulatory system. We have built upon this rather than recreate the wheel. But I think now some people are realizing that, hey, let's just start creating a wheel from now, that it will roll slowly, but it will gather momentum down the road. And I think that is where the world is. I don't think it's, the intention is to exclude anyone, but it is really to find an alternative that other economies can operate with a sense of transparency and equality, you know, and I think that is where it is. So yes, China in the next several years, we expect them on other economies, no doubt, yeah. But as it is now, really and truly, the United States is the, it is the place where capital will feed through to, because it is the strongest economy, the more resilient economy on the globe. It still is, really. China is there, yes, but the US really is.
I'm going to take this last one from Joe Hero. If Jamaica lowered customs in industries where we simply have no competition on, like technology, that could possibly help our economy, allowing startups and locals to access to further their business, their own business. Do you agree with that, Clive?
Yes, that makes sense. True. I believe though, and this is just I've said this several times, thrown it off on a couple of co-workers, but I think data, numbers don't lie. When they put the numbers together, the facts, they don't lie. But if we had the data in the first place, in order to crunch the numbers, that would set us a far way ahead. I wonder sometimes when someone jumps into a business, do they have the numbers to back their entry into that business? Do they have the numbers to determine what their cost structure will be like? Do they have the numbers to make a projection into the future so they can properly plan? You know, I think a lot has been done on the fiscal and monetary side to put some stability in the local economy and gives us some space to breathe and to create. Yes, we have seen it over the last several years in all spheres of, sectors of the economy. But I think data is missing. I think we're really, PIOJ and timeliness of data too, but we need raw, simple, basic data. Who's on that street? Who sells on that street? The small people, the people who buy and sell on the street. Can we create a space on the street and force them to keep it clean and keep it within a certain limits? Because we can't have, and allow them to sell on the street. Can we create a clean, like we did attempted in Hertfordshire, I would say, with digital, we saw that thing in the park. I don't know if the park should be used for that purpose, but we are going to have more of these people who are generating income for themselves and their family. They're not employed to any organization. Can we create facilities for them? For example, we had the thing of hygiene, Hero Circle, a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. Can we create a technology where these people are able to practice proper hygiene? We see people in IT making waves in Jamaica.
For that? Do you really need technology to practice proper hygiene?
No, what I'm saying, can we, the man who has his cart and his cane, the lady who has a little cart and sell food, can we create something, some little pressurized bucket with a water? Inspector goes around, it has some type of soap, some type of water that forces her or encourages her or he to wash his hands every now and then. Some simple, basic mechanical device that would allow them to build some trust, in this particular industry, which is a growing industry in Jamaica. It's a fallback for many people, either taxi or people buy and sell things, or people cook food. These always sell on the street. How do we make it better? So I think if I start from the very basic level with the basic information, the basic data to crunch the numbers and some simple basic technology, I think we can go a far way.
Well, Clive, your fan club is active because Robert says that you need your own YouTube page.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should. But I enjoy coming on your program. You're doing a good job so far.
Thanks. We enjoy having you. Always appreciate it. Thanks so much, Clive.